Hey guys, Jim here. Time to do another acquisition video. Not really a new acquisition. I've had this since the, end of July, I suppose. This is a David Clark Grunt in the 3.5-inch Tanto version. And I've had a lot of people on Instagram tell me that I need to make a friggin' video of this because I carry it a lot, I show it a lot, do a lot of photography on it, enjoy the living shit out of it, and it's a beautiful fucking knife. But, you guys know I've been pretty far behind on my videos, obviously. So I wanted to go ahead and prioritize this and get this out there. This is one I actually wanted to do as soon as I got it, and, kind of like all hell broke loose in my life around that time. What this actually was, this was for the last live show that I did, the last Diamond Gems Live Knives project. And I had basically talked to David, and he was going to make 3 knives for the show. I didn't care what he made. I was just completely trusting, his choices on what models he wanted to make, what configurations, what materials. And what I got were 3 totally kick-ass friggin' knives. But it was when I opened this pouch that I went, I can't sell this. I can't put this on the show. I need to have this for myself. It represented something quite a bit different from what I have in my current collection as far as materials go. And I'm a real sucker for this color combination. So what we're looking at here is the silver wire lightning strike carbon fiber at the bolster. The scales are done in an ivory micarta. Backspacer obviously done again in the lightning strike carbon fiber. So he's really tied everything together really well. He's using a Steve Kelly pivot done in blue anodized titanium and matched that up with the pocket clip as well. Beautiful, rich, rich blue. I'm a real sucker for blue, and it's got to be done right. I've had a couple knives that were built for me and had them blued, and they just didn't come out right. Sky blue, off blue, powder blue, pussy blue. It didn't work out. So the very few times that I get my hands on that right royal rich blue, I'm really, really drawn to it. And I think as an accent on this piece, the blue came off really, really nice. Did a great job overall. What you're looking at is a 3.5-inch blade with an incredible compound grind. David does some incredible work, he really does. And I love the fact that he didn't take this to too fine of a grit to finish off the blade. I love to be able to see how beautiful and perfect those grind lines are. Now, I'm not always like that. If I'm going to go into something that has a satin finish, and he's done a great satin here on the flats, I like to see that continued through. I don't like to see a really rough grit on my grinds. But it looks so friggin' beautiful. This is actually one of my most photogenic knives. I can pop out, whether it's the DSLR or just, the iPhone, and the pictures come out great, and everybody always makes comments about how beautiful this knife really is, and it's because of those grind lines. It's because of how pronounced they are and how impressive they are. Overall, the action is absolutely incredible. I am very much in love with this damn knife. I play with it all the fucking time. There is the lock up for you. Just did a great job overall. It almost wants to close on its own. Just give it a couple good little shakes, and it just pops right into place. Give you a shot with the blue side out here. So basically you got a knife that's 8 inches overall on a 3.5-inch blade. It's very compact, it feels great, very lightweight in the pocket. Obviously with the lightning strike carbon fiber, that's going to be lightweight. There's not really a lot of weight associated with any kind of micarta. And by using the carbon fiber again for the backspacer, he's reduced a lot of weight in this. The titanium liners on here are not incredibly thick, very strong. It's got a nice strong lock on it, certainly plenty of thickness there for rigidity and for strength, but he didn't overdo it, so it's actually really easy to carry in the pocket. This is one that I found myself reaching for a lot, not only because of its ease of carry and the great action, but it really is beautiful. I've never had anything in any kind of ivory. Actually, I lie. I did have one. I had a Protec Godfather years ago. Obviously, it didn't get carried very often. So when I opened up that pouch and I saw this combination, I knew I had to have it for myself. So I apologize to anybody that watched the show that would have liked to have gotten it, but every now and then you just gotta grab one for yourself. Super sharp, great sharpening on this. Here is the centering on the blade. Get it to focus, there we go. It's almost 100% dead center in there. Fantastic finish work all the way around. It's done a nice degree of jimping up here on the flipper tab. I'm typically not much for a flipper tab this huge, but it really hasn't presented any issues in the pocket. It hasn't been uncomfortable or cumbersome in any way. And I'm also typically going to go for a more ergonomic handle. As you see, this is a pretty flat, straight look across the entire handle. He's rounded everything off nicely, of course. Great contouring, nice palm swell in there, but there's no real shape to it to where you would think, oh, that's going to be super comfortable in the hand. This is just a great, straightforward, classic folding knife, the way that it feels in the hand. It's not bulky, even though it's very squared off and fairly thick. It's actually slimmer than many of the Kirby Lamberts that I've owned. Just for comparison, on my Orion MGT and whatever, this would probably be a little bit thicker if it were the Kirby Lambert. So it's really a nice fit in the hand. The flipper tab there works nicely as a little bit of a finger guard, keeps you in place. It's a little bit slick just because of the chosen material, and that's fine. This isn't really, in my opinion, not a really overly tactical style knife anyway. I tend to carry this, I don't know, maybe when I'm a little bit more dressed up. Not that I'm really ever dressing up a hell of a lot these days, but I think that just that ivory, the ivory with that pop of blue, makes it a little bit more elegant than most of the other knives that I have and most of the other knives that I've seen David do. Now, David's a great guy, super awesome guy. If you don't know much about him, please check out the previous videos that I've done on his work. In particular, the prototype that I bought from him, the Fortitude #1. And, get to know him a little bit. I'm not going to rehash and regurgitate all that stuff. Basically, he's mostly a self-taught knife maker. Started off kind of just as a hobby and learned the basics, learned his lock setting and his action and his detent and whatnot from his brother-in-law, Po-Han Lu. So he's got this great feel for coming up with clean, classic looks. He's got incredible detent work. His locks are fantastic. Fantastic? Really? Fuck you. Fantastic. And as you see, he really has perfected his actions. This is even a better action than my Fortitude had. My Fortitude really had a nice action. But this one, it's just a little bit snappier. It's got just a little bit of a stronger detent. See if we can get up in there. Sucks it in nicely, and opens with authority. It opens with speed and a very solid ka-chunk when it locks open. It's using an internal blade stop on there, so you don't have any extra hardware sticking out. Not that that ever bothers me. I'm fine with external blade stops. Having them in the blade or having an external stop pin press fit in the frame doesn't bother me at all. But it is a nice, clean look when you've got the internal blade stop. Now, I know some makers have talked about the fact that they don't feel it's as strong for a folding knife to have the internal blade stop. I guess because of the distance from the pivot. I'm not really sure. I'm not that kind of hard user that I really have to worry about it that much anyway, but I'm certain that there's some validity to those claims. But we all know some really great high-end makers that do prefer to use the internal stop, so it doesn't really matter either way. As far as the construction of the knife, he did an incredible job integrating these materials. It is almost completely seamless between the ivory micarta and the lightning strike carbon fiber. He did a great job finishing the lightning strike. You don't feel a single prickly wire coming out. And one of the nice things about the silver wire lightning strike versus the standard lightning strike had copper wire in there, and it tended to be a little bit harder to work with, very, very prickly. And with the aluminum, I guess because it's a little bit softer and a little bit more malleable and easier to work with, they tend to come out a little bit cleaner. At least that's been my experience. but he did a great job mating up all of the materials. I like the fact that he did an angled bolster on here instead of a straight bolster. Nothing wrong with a straight bolster, but it's nice to have that little added bit of character to it. Now, a lot of people may look at this and go, but Jim, I can't believe you're not knocking him for not using any hidden hardware. Listen, there are very, very, very few makers that will do a hidden hardware setup. And none of them, and I repeat, none of them are in David's price range. I don't recall exactly how much this was now. It's been, 4 months? But I want to say it was under $700. I want to say it was either $650 or $675. And you got to realize this is a full, complete, hand-built custom. So the only thing that he doesn't do in-house is his heat treat. He does send out for heat treat. Plenty of guys do that. No problem with that. So you're buying a full-on custom for just a few dollars more than some really popular mid-techs these days. So when you take into account the fact that, one, his books are open. You can actually order from him. And the other, that he's so affordable. Now realize if you went something a bit simpler, let's say you just did black G10 all the way through, you'd probably knock off at least $100, $125 off that price. Go for a standard steel pivot instead of the titanium pivot, probably knock off another $75. So you can really get this down. I know that David has started his pricing generally at about $450. So to know that you can get into a full-blown custom for anywhere from $450 to, sky's the limit, pretty damn nice. And to know that you don't have to wait 1, 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know what his wait is. I'm certain that it's somewhere between 8 months and a year. But you don't have to wait a super long time. The secondary market really hasn't exploded on his stuff yet because, number one, I've noticed not a lot of people are flipping their knives. They tend to keep the knives. Maybe it's because, maybe the knife is just so friggin' incredible they don't ever want to let it go, or because they paid so little for it, they feel it's such a high value. What would they gain from really doing it? So I think that's definitely part of it. But his name still isn't out there yet. He's still one of those little hidden treasures in the custom knife world. And obviously I did some exposure on him when my knife was done that he built for me earlier in the year. And that is what has unfortunately given him the wait list that he does have. But he's really super easy to work with. He'll do pretty much anything you want to do. He'll experiment with new shit. He had never worked with zirconium until he built my Fortitude. And he nailed it right out of the gate. Perfect. So he is a perfectionist. He's not going to be the fastest guy in the world because he wants to make sure everything is done right. And there are a few makers these days that are getting a little bit, I don't want to say sloppy, but sometimes it's a little too easy to hear horror stories from folks that received their new knife and they were all excited and they waited 6 months or a year or 3 years or whatever, and they get it and the blade is off center, or there's lock rock, or there's lock slip, or there's, little issues with the integration of the material, some little flaws. And sometimes we look past those because the rest of the knife is so great, or we really, have made a connection with that maker and we really like them. We consider them to be a friend. We don't want to give them too much shit. But listen, we're paying a lot of money for a custom product made specifically for us. It should be as perfect as it can be. So David really subscribes to that. He puts a lot of time and a lot of effort into consulting with his client, with his customer, to make sure exactly how they want their knife configured. And then he spends a lot of time making that knife as perfect as he can. And when you realize how little money he's charging and how much time he's putting into them, you realize what a great value his knives are, because that's really what you're paying for in a custom knife. Yes, there is a certain percentage that goes to just your materials, especially when you get exotic. But at some point, it boils down to the amount of time and hand finishing and hand fitting that goes into each custom knife. That's really what you're paying for. And I think this is somebody that is dramatically underpaying himself, and I'm sure that'll change in the near future. But for right now, get on his list if you can and enjoy the great value that he's offering. This is only one of the many models that he's offering. You've seen my Fortitude. You've seen the Grunt now. Go check out his website. It's clarkblades.com. Check him out on Instagram. It's at clarkblades on Instagram. And, you know, chat him up. He is a super friendly guy. Very humble. Very, very humble. And he wants to work hard to build a name for quality and for customer service. And I think so far, he's doing great. I've never heard a complaint from anybody going, oh, fucking David, man, I've been waiting this long and I paid him for this and I haven't seen shit, or I got my knife and it came in crappy. None of that. And these days, collectors are becoming a little bit more vocal and standing up for their rights. You know, you're spending a lot of money here. So to know that he's got a great track record, that his prices are affordable, that he cares about what you want, not just about what he wants to make, and puts out a product this nice looking, you got to do it. A couple quick close-ups of everything before I exit the video. I don't know what this is going to look like in full HD, but I have not seen any voids with my naked eye in the Lightning Strike carbon fiber. Oh, and speaking of that, while I'm giving you the close-ups here, if you ever jump on one of my videos right after it, you know, uploads and it's not in HD, you don't have to post about the fact it's not in HD. Every video I make is in full 1080 HD. If you're not seeing it in HD, it's because it just got uploaded. Give it an hour and let YouTube finish the processing, and you'll see all of the HD options pop up. And if you're not watching my videos in HD, you really are missing something, because these knives are absolutely gorgeous and they deserve to be in that full high definition. I love how I did his thumb ramp here with the jimping. It's very light jimping, not aggressive at all, but it's just enough to hold you in place. Nice, comfortable knife all the way around. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I am out of here. Thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.